So tonight, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, come in the room, grab your pencils. I've never talked about things exactly the way I'm going to talk about them tonight. And it's drawing from influences from Chase Hughes and Myron Golden. And I've had several different business coaches that poured into me. I was very, very grateful that helped me build this mental model that I believe has contributed to a large part of our success. And all it provided me was breaking down in a systematic way how to the experience for the patient that allows for healing to happen. And whether you are just doing chiropractic, whether you're doing functional medicine, whether you're doing acupuncture, whether you are running a coffee shop, if you have these principles installed, these values installed for your staff and for yourself, then your business by proxy can't help but grow. The main hangup I've seen with a lot of doctors is they focus on pricing, they focus on the offer, the products that they're going to bring in. People try to impart the knowledge that they have from their mentors, so they're utilizing a system, they're utilizing some sort of framework they've learned from functional medicine, as opposed to, can we make a framework that is aligned with the brain? Can we make a framework that's aligned with the human mind and how it receives information, how it builds community, and how it makes decisions? And if all I'm doing is facilitating the experience for my patient to feel supported, to feel like they belong, to feel like they're learning, to feel like they are in an element of intrigue, because curiosity and future pacing is what keeps them engaged. If I'm facilitating that and I'm keeping their brain focused while also helping them make decisions, because realize we can't make decisions for patients. We're not here to convince them of anything. We're not here to persuade them or sell them. We're here to facilitate the conditions that allow them to give themselves the permission to ascend into higher and higher levels of value. So when I say levels of value, what does that even mean? Levels of value, there are ways that we can deliver business within there are ways that we can deliver something to a customer, and there is levels. At the lowest level is what we'll talk about, is called a commodity. So commodity is like gas, like nails, like staples. The only value is the intrinsic value that it has is the utility. And so what it is able to do, it's able to power my car, it's able to hang my art, it's able to put my papers together. It is only valued at the thing that it can do for me. And it's at the lowest level. We will price shop for these things. If I know that I can get gas for 50 cents cheaper across the street, I'm going to drive the extra 5 seconds. And that's why people wait in line at Costco for the gas, because they see that the 20, 30, 40, 50%, 50 cent difference is the thing worth waiting for. They're willing to trade their time for that. And if Chevron down the way tries to market themselves as having this super duper premium platinum gas, it's going to be a big lift to try to combat that, because they're competing purely on price. It's a commodity. That's the lowest level. Next one's going to be a product. So a little bit higher than a commodity, but still the value is the intrinsic thing that it has. Think of it like a book. Most books must be priced at the price that they're at, anywhere between $12 to $30, because there's nothing new under the sun. If something's written in a book, it's probably written in 20 to 50 to 100 other books this year. So really, the book that you're getting it's hard to differentiate itself. It's differentiated by the offer. It's differentiated by the author, but that is largely marketing. So again, competes on price, still transactional. It's just getting me from point A to point B. The next level is going to be a service. A service is I'm physically doing something to someone. I'm physically doing something for someone. I'm physically doing something that brings more ease and harmony to their life. This is when you start actually thinking beyond the 3D as far as transactional, and you are trying to facilitate a co-creation of sorts. The next level above a service is going to be an experience. An experience. Now you're starting to think from the angle of a real office owner, I believe. This is when you're thinking about how it's decorated, how people are answering the phones, what are the values that each staff member is going to be exuding, because realize people don't follow rules, they follow values. So that is even one of the aspects of my interviews when I'm interviewing new staff, and we just hired some new staff, is I show them the company values. I read them off to them. And then after I read them off, I say, okay, which one resonated with you the most? And if people are like, all of them, then I know that they weren't even listening. Or maybe none of them resonated with you, and that's fine. It's just you want people that are resonating with your current values. That way you know that they're going to be carrying the torch outside of you. So experience, I'm thinking about all the aspects of how they're interacting with my business and my staff. What does my social media look like? My website? How are people greeted on the phone? It's adding a level of dimensionality to the business and realizing that it's not just a transaction. I'm wanting to deliver more. I realize sales is service, is leadership. If I'm leading my staff and leading my patients really well, it's a higher level service. And then I'm naturally going to have more sales just by focusing on leadership, just by leading better, just by serving better. Monetary gain is a proxy. It's just like how I tell people, you don't go to a networking event to build business. You go to a networking event to build relationships. And then as you build relationships, and as a proxy of that, of you being a good person and you delivering value in ways that you know how to outside of just the transactional nature of your business, then by proxy, you start building more business. The highest level of service is, and the one that I believe we could all strive for, is going to be a transformation. It's the acknowledgement that someone can meet me in my business in state A and completely transform, almost like the version of a quantum leap, into state B. That's why you will run into patients sometimes where they don't even believe that they can get better because, one, they can't envision it. They've been sick for so long and they don't see the pathway. The brain cannot tell the difference between what is vividly imagined, what is actually lived. And they have been living and imagining their illness only. So if I'm coming at it from a place of I am creating the atmosphere, I'm creating the conditions, which that is our main responsibility, is creating the conditions. If I'm creating the conditions for their mind to start to wonder, to get curious, to think critically, to utilize their imagination for life-affirming things, now I can start to facilitate that transformation from point A to point B. And with that, with me allowing their brain to calm down, to get out of high wave beta, to get out of a stress state, and helping them get into a creative state. And there's ways that we do this. The atmosphere, the single greatest predictor of your personality and your mental health, other than your genetics, is your environment. That's why they say, monitor the rooms you're in. Your closest 5 friends are going to be the average of your income. People acknowledge the importance of your environment and what you immerse yourself in. Now we must take that lens and overlay it on top of our offices. So from here, I'm building my office. I'm building the communication internally, externally, the social media, the website, my day 1, day 2, day 3, all are meant to enhance the conditions for them to make decisions that escalate in value production. What does this look like? That sounds like a real sexy way of saying, make sure your office looks pretty. In a way, yes. And I want to be very values forward. And I want to be very SOP forward. I want to have steps. If X happens, then we do Y. If Z happens, then we do B. So flow charting it out. One Anytime we install something new in the office, whether it was functional medicine, HRT, stem cells, EBU, I flow chart everything out. And so I say, okay, how are they first interacting with us? Where are we going to find them? And so whether it's from our website, whether it's from ads, whether it's from a networking group, like what is their first encounter and what are we wanting to be said about us? What are we wanting them to feel? And then, okay, encounter B, encounter C, encounter D, the sale. So I want to build all aspects of them relating with us so that we know what to expect. There's a Stoic philosophy, I can't remember the name of it right now, but essentially it's where you rehearse the best outcome, you rehearse the worst outcome, and you rehearse as many outcomes between those, so that when things happen and when you're training new staff, you say, hey, when someone happens, if they need to do a return, if they're buying this thing, if they're talking about financing, then we know how to adapt. And also we're able to maintain the positive mental state of a transformation, because part of the requirement of a transformation is them to suspend the belief of their current life and to accept the belief of their future life. So you're wanting them to get in the place where they are visioning, hey, I can feel better. I can have energy. I can have clear skin, no spine pain, get my fertility pack. So they must suspend their current reality, embrace the future reality, but that requires us to facilitate every single interaction with them in a way where we keep them positive. Because the brain looks for reasons to be negative. The brain is constantly scanning for danger. It's by nature a genetic survival tactic, because if you had two brothers 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 years ago, and one of them was more curious when he heard rustling in the bushes and the other one was more afraid when he heard rustling in the bushes, probably the one that was more curious that investigated was the one to die and not proliferate his genes. The one that was more nervous and the one that ran away from the snake or the tiger were more likely to have more babies, which by proxy means we have genes that were given to us from more nervous people because it was a survival tactic. So I'm wanting to build an atmosphere where I'm not allowing any form of unnecessary nerves or friction or sales resistance, because the brain is going to be constantly looking for that. And what is common now, especially in these longevity clinics and some of the bigger names that I'm not going to say, is a point and click style menu. What does that mean? Is you walk in, and even though they run tests, and even though they do GI map, and even though they do genetic sequencing, they largely show you a menu or show you a booklet, and they say, okay, what do you want to do? What membership do you want to sign up for? Do you want the $1,000 a month or the $5,000 a month one? And people don't know. People don't know what they need. So the goal would be that you're facilitating an experience that does not install any sales resistance, does not install any doubt, fear, isolation, because those are the things that are going to stall decision making, while also painting a clear path that this is the thing that's going to help them the most. And it must actually be true. And it must be true. It cannot be a sales tactic or you just trying to sell the highest thing. It is, if these parameters are true, then we have this protocol. If these parameters are true, then we have this protocol. And here are the ways that we measure and test it. For us, when people are coming in, whether it's for mold or functional medicine or Lyme or long COVID, I have my protocol of, they come in and I'm going to do a meticulous history. I'm going to do a spinal exam. I'm going to do the nervoscope. I'm going to take x-rays, and on their way out, then I'm going to draw some blood and do a pretty expanded lab analysis. But before they leave, I give them homework. Their homework is they're going to order a continuous glucose monitor, CGM, and they're going to plug it into their arm. And for the next month, we're going to monitor their blood sugar, because that's going to give me a lot of data. So it's going to monitor their blood sugar when they're awake, when they're asleep, when they first wake up. Are they actually getting in a deep sleep? How is it responding when they eat certain things? And they're going to take notes for me. So now by the time I see them for a second time, I have their spinal exam, I have their spinal x-rays, I have their their blood work, and it's scaled up, scaled down, depending on what it is. I have their continuous glucose monitor tracking. If they have sleep data, which I can use sleep data, I don't really need it, especially if you have a glucose monitor. You can see when they're falling into deep sleep. There's ways to read it. And then I have their food journal. So I've gathered all this data. So by the time day 2 happens, I can actually give them a client journey that is going to facilitate a profound change. I'm able to give them a lifestyle modification, supplementation, peptides. Is there any pharmaceutical intervention we want? Are we doing EBOO? Are we doing stem cells? And what do those protocols look like? So I'm able to build this offering for them. That is going to be your true transformation. So I've catered every single process until that one moment of saying, okay, Jill, here is your folder. This is what we're going to teach you about you today. And then we go through the process. Here's your physical stress. Here's your chemical stress. Here's your physical stress. Here's your chemical stress. And this is how it bleeds out into mental emotional stress. And we paint this entire picture of their life because your biology is your biography. You're basically showing them the biography of their life. And then from there, they can make this quantum leap into becoming something different. Because what is required in order for personal growth to occur? I must know where I am, and I must know where I'm going. But most doctors' offices are barely even giving you where you are. Barely. Or they're really good at collecting a lot of data and not teaching you anything. Installing more fear, installing more doubt, installing more resistance. So people actually feel like they go to the doctor and they're worse for it. But there's books that are written called like How to Be Healthy Despite Your Doctor, or How to Raise Healthy Kids Despite Your Doctor. Like it's very much become a business, and you guys don't need to hear from me that a lot of people are worse off after going to these doctors. So a real transformation, a real quantum shift for the patient requires them to know where they are and where they want to go and have no doubt that they can get there and no doubt that you can help them. You can't do it for them. There's a saying that I always go back to, especially when I'm having a tough season. It's you have to do it yourself, but you can't do it by yourself. And I tell patients that all the time. Hey, you have to do this yourself. I can advise you. I can tell you exactly what to do. And I'm only going to make you do the things that you agree and we agree on that would be the best for you. I'm not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. And I'm only able to do it with you. Can't do it for you. So with that, you're evolving beyond the point and click style menu. You're building this thoughtful journey for the patient. And you don't need to do it this specific way. But if you just break down in a flow chart where they are, where you can help them, and all the points of interaction within your business, and then you start to essentially create controls for that, guide rails, values for that, then you're going to have a business that not just does a service and experience, but it can be a transformation because now you know how to guide them through this process. Essentially, it's imagine your patient is standing at the edge of a hallway and you want them to walk through the door at the end of the hallway. And in order for them to do that, you must shut all the adjacent doors and get them to walk down the hallway, but while simultaneously denying entry to all those other doors. So essentially giving them the illusion of them walking and having their choice. But you know what's best for them. And you're going to work with them to get them to that resolution. Because if they knew the answer, they would already be doing it. So the goal would be that I'm walking them down this process. I'm getting them to shut all of these doors. And then we're getting to the very end and they're walking through that door. If you just did that one thing, if you just drew out a flow chart of every single interaction they're going to have with your business from top of funnel to all the way bottom of funnel, and then everything you're going to interact with along the lifetime of your patient, along the lifetime of your business, then that is going to open up the questions of, now I know how to get them from point A to point B. What do I want them to feel? And at what points do I want them to possibly leave me Google reviews? At what points do I want to ask them for referrals? At what points do I want to Boom. And that's going to help you be more thoughtful with your patient experience. So, one thing that we've been looking at lately, and we've been doing a ton of, is EBU and functional medicine and dealing with the toxicity of the world. I believe we've become well adapted to a poorly adapted society. And what does that even mean? We're living in a hyper stressed environment. We're living largely indoors in our refrigerated boxes. We're eating food that's kind of food, but not really. It's loaded with chemicals and plastics, and we are having pharmaceuticals be paraded around. This is the life that our patients are living in. People are glorifying pharmaceuticals and replacing nutrition for that. So when people are coming in, they're wanting these complex fixes. They're wanting this magic pill. They've been overstimulated and brainwashed in a way where they think that doctors have all the answers. I think it's changing now. It's much more different now than 12 years ago, where people are more critical. They're asking more thoughtful questions. They're using AI. They're coming in and they're asking me what I think of XYZ. I've even had people plug in their blood work for the last 5 years and their x-rays for the last 5 years into ChatGPT, and then they start to learn their own health. So people are becoming more informed than ever before, and that's going to make it so we can't hide. And that's going to make it so we actually do need to provide value and help people get to where they want to be. We can't just charge them for services and expect them to stick around. So we want to make sure that we're building value constantly. So when people are coming in, they're pretty sick. They have a lot of pain, they have migraines, they have hormone issues, digestion issues, skin problems, and they're wanting a singular answer to solve all the problems. And there is one. What's the answer? The closer that we return to nature, the better you will be. Your biology is meant to be healthy. You are meant to be healthy. Your default state is health, vibrance, high energy. So when you are not in that state, worry, fear, doubt, confusion, fatigue, depression, anxiety, when you're not in that health state, you're in that ease, lack of homeostasis state, then we know that there's a problem. But the single fix that you can offer every single person is, how can we, while maintaining the obligations of your life, the responsibilities of your life, because we can't make you quit your job and go live in a monastery. Maybe some people can, or willing to. We can't send you into the woods with a couple bottles of water for 3 weeks in order for you to feel better, even though nature bathing is something that's recommended in Japan. How do we get them to the point where they are returning to nature with their current habits, behaviors, beliefs, patterns, while it's a better way of saying that. How do we get them to return to nature in spirit while also maintaining the obligations of life? It must be broken down into several different planes, but this is how I see it in my mind. Number one, physical plane. How do we break down physical plane and returning to nature? It can be as simple as grounding. It can be barefoot more. It can be going out on nature hikes, getting into natural water. It can be doing primal movement. It can be doing yoga. It can be doing Pilates. It can be doing just all forms of multi-plane movement, and also forms of being outside and engaging with nature. One of the things that adults can do that kids cannot is we can pull energy from nature. We can pull energy from trees. Someone did, I forgot who the PhD was, but he used Kirlian photography to image. So if you're not familiar with Kirlian photography, it's when you can take an image of somebody. with the back is a copper background, and you're able to see essentially the aura around someone, so their energy field. And you can see the colors and how far out it extends. And for some people, when they're in a good state, it can extend out, I think, 50 to 150 feet. When you're in a contracted state, a worry state, your energy field is tight and isn't much further than your physical body. So someone took this, I'll have to find it and throw it up in the notes for you guys. Someone took this Kirlian photography unit and had people stand in the woods, and they put that as a backdrop, and they took pictures of the energy pouring out of the trees and into the individual. I'm sure everybody here has felt that, where you go on a hike and you feel more energized at the end than when you first showed up. The air feels cleaner, your body feels lighter, you feel more detoxed just by walking in nature for an hour. It's because we're literally pulling energy, we're pulling life force off of the trees. And kids cannot do this. Kids can only pull energy from where? Their parents. So the Celestine prophecy says it really well. Never have more children in your home, as in like birth your own children. Never have more children in your home than you do have adult eyes that can watch them. Because as soon as you do, then you're going to have control dramas invited into the family, where people are trying to seek energy, because until I think 16, it's like 14 or 16, they primarily get energy from their caregivers. And then it starts to go out into, now they can go into their environment and pull energy. It's a way of syncing with reality. I forgot why I brought that up. Oh, okay. This is our physical interaction with harmonizing with nature. Multi-plane movement, get out in nature, be barefoot, do things that start to engage you with the animalness that is us. Chemical harmonization, chemical return to nature. What does that look like? It looks like eliminating toxicities in your food. Obviously, no food that requires an ingredients list. Ideally, the farmer that's getting you your food. That's going to be a return to nature. And it sounds crazy, what's a return to nature? Ibu. Because you are able to take the chemical pressure off of your blood. You are able to filter out things, and you're able to shove large amounts of oxygen into your blood. When I'm in a hyper-oxygenated state, when I'm in a high oxygenated state, I'm naturally going to think clearer, have more energy, be in a better mood, have more emotional regulation, because I'm going to be creating more ATP. I'm going to have more NAD in my system as well. Your NAD goes up like crazy. And I'm taking all the impurities out of my blood that is otherwise circulating through my kidneys, my liver, my brain. So from that state, now I'm more in that nature state than I was prior. It's kind of wild that we need to pull blood out of our body, filter it, shove ozone into it, and put it back in, essentially do an oil change or an engine flush on our own blood in order for us to return to nature. But that's just the reality that we live in now. So if I'm coming at it from a place of physical engagement with nature, a simple fix, primal movement, yoga, multi-plane things, be barefoot. Number 2 is going to be chemical return to nature. Try to source your food as close as you can from the place that it was grown. The next one is, if I'm going to be doing anything within the clinic, it's going to be things that perpetuate natural detox, and also an accelerated detox like Ibu or TPE. Another one would be sauna. Sauna is a powerful, powerful, powerful one. I think if there was one thing that you were to do for your health consistently, even more than weightlifting, which sounds crazy even as I say it, sauna. If you can do sauna 5 to 7 times a week for 20 to 35 minutes at a time, you will be a different person. And then the last one, if I split it up into a mental, emotional plane, what is going to be my return to nature? Being in community. If I can be a part of something greater than myself most of the time, then I'm not going to be so internally focused, which is We can talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how being too internally focused actually puts us too higher in the Maslow's hierarchy, essentially thinking about the spiritual actual self-actualization of things actually makes you ill. We need to come down and work on our primal needs as well, because that shows love for your body. That's why having an ego is not bad, because having an ego means you love your body enough to take care of it. Doesn't mean I let my ego make all my decisions, but I must utilize my ego in a way where it is life affirming in this life. I can't just dissolve it. So when I'm allowing that into my practice, when I'm saying, hey, I have this one solve for your complex thing, and it's a return to nature, I want to have my steps in order. Physical steps, chemical steps, mental emotional steps. And for the mental emotional element, I'm not asking you to be their therapist, but we can ask questions in a thoughtful way that guide them down the hallway of making decisions, giving themselves permission to make powerful decisions for themselves, which ultimately could lead to higher and higher ticket services, peptides, EBU, TPE, stem cells, and them being a part of a greater whole, them realizing that they can be a part of a community, that they're all in it together, healing, contributing, doing life-affirming things. That's why I'm a big fan in hosting monthly to every other month events at the office, doing toy drives at the end of the year. How much we can get into the community and then involving those patients actually is part of their care as well. It's not a requirement. I'm not going to say, hey, in order for me to take care of your low back, you got to donate some toys at the end of the year. But if they know that we are doing that, they're going to feel called to participate as well. They'll want to learn how to make sourdough. They'll want to learn, hey, there's going to be a women's health wine and women's health night next month. They'll want to be here because they're going to be a part of something and realize that they're not alone. Especially moms need that, and men now more than ever need that. You guys see the statistics on average. The average American male, I think in the 1970s, had 5.5 like good friends that they can call on. Now they have less than one, as far as the statistic. So there's a loneliness epidemic. There is moms not being able to lean on other moms because of the hyper busyness aspect. Everyone's running around to sports and dance and this and that. So people are becoming more and more isolated. People are becoming more and more, I don't know, what's a way of saying it? Think that they need to do it all themselves. Like I said, you have to do it yourself, but you can't do it by yourself. So if you are essentially exuding these elements with your practice, that, hey, we're going to return to nature, and here are all the ways that we're going to do it. And you're going to have your own ways too. So this is not meant to be a cookie cutter. This is not meant for you to memorize exactly the words that I'm using, because that's not realistic. This is my philosophy that I've come to after 12 years of doing this. But if you start to create frameworks in a way that lead people down the pathway of more and more life-affirming things, while them feeling like they're a part of a greater whole, that they're divinely supported, or that they're supported by a community that actually wants them to win, then you're going to have not just a happy customer, not someone that's just going to have a transformation within your business. They're going to be a raving fan. And from there, you are able to start to change your lens. What do I mean by that? Your lens of reality, where the typical business owner thinks they need to cast out this massive net and catch as many customers as possible. I'm going to cast out this massive net, and I'm going to get some people that are meant to serve and some people that I'm not meant to serve, and some people that I really enjoy helping and some people that I friggin' hate when they're here. It's because you tossed out a massive net. You tossed out this massive net just trying to grow a business because you needed to. As opposed to, what if I was extremely targeted and I knew exactly what I was offering? I knew exactly what to expect with the interactions with my client, with my ideal client, my ideal patient. And I toss out this small net, and I just want to get really, really, really good at delivering at a high level what I do, what I know to be true, what I live to these people, and then these people end up being patients with me for life. That's the difference between being like the chiropractor in crisis or the direct primary care medical doctor that's just transactional for sick care. It's like if I toss out this tiny net and then I have all these ways of providing a ton of value that I'm sincerely really good at, or my staff is very good at, and I have this special way of communicating with that patient, with that customer, that they feel seen, heard, supported, like they belong, then I'm going to have a patient for a lifetime. And that's when a patient isn't worth, if we're going to talk monetary aspect, they're not worth $2,000. They're worth maybe like $50,000 over the course of your practice lifetime. Because by nature, science is going to develop. We're going to be offering new things. We're going to have new resets. They'll have new seasons of life that will need new things. And if you are able to deliver that, I'm not saying to try to be everything to everybody. That's not realistic. I am saying that if you study life-affirming things, you can continually provide life-affirming things catered to where they want their life to be. What do they see for the vision of their life? How do I contribute more to their life in a life-affirming way? And there are levels to it. But if I'm competing at a commodity level, you're going to have price shoppers call you, hey, how much is it for a first visit? And they're going to go to the guy down the street because they're cheaper. We are purposely on the higher end of the prices because we don't want people that are shopping. We acknowledge that the more people invest, the more people pay, the more they pay attention, the more they value a thing. You don't do it for the sake of just charging more. I do it for the sake of I want their attention. If I capture their focus, then they are more likely to do the things to transform their life. If I'm not getting investment on the front end, whether it's monetary or their physical attention or their time attention, then they're not going to get the result that I want them to. They're not going to get the result that they want to, and they're not going to tell anybody. So if I am able to, one, know who I'm really good at serving, provide all of these levels of service, and have this client journey for them, now I'm able to honestly transform someone's life. I am certain in being able to do that. And certainty and authority are things that you get to build from the inside. Because people will feel it. People want to be around people that have high authority, high certainty in the thing that they're providing. If you feel uncertain and you're down and you're talking in the back of your throat, people can feel that, and it's just going to kind of feel off. You could say all the right things. You can have all the perfect scripts. You can be dressed the perfect way, have the perfect designed office. But if you don't have the confidence or the authority to command, they're like, hey, I know you've been everywhere, but I'm so glad you're here because this is the exact place you need to be. Or I don't know exactly what's going on, but I will tell you that I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to fix it. Or I'm going to help you fix it. Like that level of authority. And when I teach chiropractors, I just say, I want you to have the weight on your shoulders. When I'm teaching the Gonstead method, I want you to have the weight on your shoulders that if you don't fix it, nobody can. If you don't full-heartedly think that when you have an acute patient in front of you, if you don't fix it, nobody will. They may be stuck like this. I want you to have that kind of pressure because you respect it. But now you can translate out toward all aspects of your business. I'm doing functional medicine, IV therapy, frequency, I don't care. Speaking with a level of authority, and it must be sincere, it can't be faked. Speaking with a level of authority like, you're in the right place, I'm so glad you're here, I'm going to be the one to help you. And then from that, on the backside of that, that's when you have patients that end up being your friends forever. Like they invite you to their graduations and their birthdays and their weddings, and you see their kids be born. It's really cool. Like we have such a special job. Like I'm so pumped to do this that it found me. I had such a small window of what it really was until I was in it. And even now, I bet 10 years from now, I'm going to say, oh, I thought I really had it figured out and I had a level of appreciation, but now I really do. So it's like we're constantly iterating and growing in our appreciation and our value for this profession, for this business. And that's what's going to inspire you to continually learn more and want to deliver more. That's what's inspired me. So with that, you're going to have complex patients. How do we get them to return to nature? We are not separate from nature, we are nature. And the more we separate ourselves from nature, the more isolated we become from nature, from other people. That's when illness comes in. So we want to invite them back into being in nature, and it can look like a bunch of different ways. And we want to evolve beyond the point and click. What do you want to do? Here's your membership. And that requires time and attention and rehearsal and installing core values in your business. But if you do those two things, if you just, hey, remind yourself, how do I get this patient to return to nature? How do I communicate this at a really high level? And then how do I actually have the service lines to do it? While building a thoughtful client journey, tossing out that small net, serving those people at a really high level, you can make as much money as you want. You can see as many patients as you want. You essentially get to, there's no competing anymore. Just winning. That's why I think it's so silly when people are like, oh, there's a lot of chiropractors over there. There's no such thing as competition. Your energy is different. If you increase your energy, if you increase your radiance, if you increase the value that you can bring to the community, you will be busy. It doesn't matter if there's 20 chiropractors in your parking lot. People will come find you. So we are coming to a new chapter. We're going to have a lot more of this. I'm going to be teaching a couple times a week now. I'm teaching once a week currently, this Friday course. Thank you guys for coming here today. I will be starting to teach again on Tuesday evenings for the people in our school group. And also Dr. David Fowler, who's a chiropractor, a mentor of mine, will be teaching every Monday now. And he'll be going deep into scientific studies, biomechanics, complex case analysis, everything from reading x-rays to doing the actual exam to report of findings. He is a genius. He's an engineer mind that is in healthcare. Amazing wealth of knowledge. So he'll be getting on every Monday and doing this style of communication. And then I will be teaching more on the business side on Tuesday nights, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday nights. We haven't set the date yet. Exactly how we've structured the business, how we price things, how we build offers, how we build memberships, essentially all the things that are money generating. Where I think of these Fridays are more philosophy and just even though we do case analysis and even though we do some business element, I feel like this is largely the philosophy day. So we're going to be getting more eventually, what we're going to do is we're going to have a speaker every day. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of content, but we'll be recording it. We'll putting it up on school. We'll be putting it up on YouTube, at least clips of it. And we're going to really start to grow this element of the Connection University. Because my goal is that you are able to interact with us, and whether we are personally helping you grow your practice or if you are just consuming our educational material, you are able to build a successful, thriving practice of your dreams. Because I know so many doctors, and this is unfortunately more common than it is to find the inverse. I know doctors that are wildly talented that can't figure out the business thing, or doctors that have figured out the business thing and they're crazy busy, but they've traded their sanity for it. And there's a bunch of phases in the middle. So my goal would be that you're able to build the practice of your dreams, make the money that you want to transform yours and your family's life, while also retaining your spirit, retaining your mental faculties, retaining your physical body, We never want to trade our physical, mental, or spiritual health for this, because we're imparting our own health onto the patients. Our own health, our own communication is how they remember how to take over their health. So if we are not healthy, there are limitations in how healthy we can help them become. So my goal for you would be that every single person that you interact with is they are transformed by a renewing of their mind, a renewing of their body, a renewing of their spirit, and we are able to play a small part and help you become better at that. That's all I have today, guys. If you want to stick around, if you have any questions, happy to answer them. I'll stay on for another maybe 5 minutes or so, and then I'll see you guys next week.